have pleasure in inviting Mr. Subri, call him as Subra Kumaraswamy. Kindly come and take your seat, sir. He is a guest of honor today. Invite our own alumni, Khalilur Rahman, who is going to be the moderator for the session. Now I request our Joint Secretary Technical Muthu Kumar to do the welcome address.
At the outset, the association's intention is to create a platform wherein we not only reminisce the past, but also act as a platform wherein we can build network, we can kind of expand on that and continue to learn. And this fireside chat is a continuation of that. And here we are for this fireside chat. On behalf of the CITAC committee, I extend a warm welcome to Mr. Subra and also Khalil, who are the guests for today. And I also extend a very warm welcome to the entire audience who were able to kind of take up their time and then be available today. Thanks a lot.
Happy evening and very happy to see you all here because this program became one of the toughest challenge for us to organize such a gathering. Though it is all CIT is a knowledge tank, think tank, every adjective you can add to CIT, but it is very tough to call all knowledgeable minds to assemble at one place. That is what the issue is. But of course, we are equally, we took the challenge and we made things, somewhat possible. Though the hall can accommodate something close to 100, but then we brought it, we thought, okay, we are happy, contented with what we have right now. Maybe the next meet we'll go for 100 plus or something like that. And so how the meeting, took shape is, Subra is my batchmate. He heads, he's a CISO of Visa Corporation, USA. And so yeah, we used to be in touch, myself and Ramesh Anna, we used to discuss about him to bring him on stage for CITA-CC for something or the other, some function or somewhere, so that he shares his knowledge with us, and it's a kind of a honor to him also. That's what we thought. But the timing did not materialize so far. But for this function, it happened so that he was here for his daughter's marriage. Everything is organized by him the last week. So in between the marriage busyness for all whatever it is, I asked him time for 2-3 hours here. So he consented to be here out of sheer love for CIT. He's a busy guy, not to exaggerate. He comes here for 24 hours, 36 hours visit. His in-laws are here, and somehow I'll meet him because he lives in Ananagar. I mean, the in-laws live in Ananagar. We just meet him for about half an hour or 1 hour or 2 hours, something like that. But somehow this time instantly I called, I asked him, but he agreed. So thank you, Subra, for being with us today. And we need to have a personality who is equal to Subra in his own terms. So to interview him, then there is none other than Rahman, our own techie. So thank you very much for being with us, for listening to our invite call and being here. I know your presence makes a difference to us, and we are very happy to serve you in the future like this. Thank you very much.
Actually, Khalilur Rahman and I are the same batchmates, 1996. I am actually a civil engineer and he's a computer science batch. So it's a different yardstick for me. Actually, in the batch, he is a very techie. He delivers, he helps each of the batchmates if it's any technical help. He's recently, he has been with the global giant Novartis as its technical lead and director as a technical lead, and he has also worked in different fields across telecommunication, healthcare and technology. He is a technocrat and he is ranked globally number 3 by top thought leaders by Thinkers 360. He is an architect of AI-driven quality engineering framework, published various technological books. He is an active quizzer since the college times, and he has won many laurels to the CIT. And he's a research scholar in business, analytical, and management. And he's still pursuing his dream of being a doctorate, and he is enrolled in Amrita Institute of Management for his doctorate degree. He has 482 certifications, 150 published articles, 80 plus apps, and all of a sudden he could publish in our group saying 15 apps have been created overnight. So he's just a technocrat who just keeps on learning and keen to do newer things. The scaling capability centers, governing enterprise, AI are mentoring next generation of leaders. His thought line is consistent. Strategy meets execution from whiteboard to production. And Khalil is a very humble, and he's from a humble background, and he is always helpful to everyone. Thank you. He is Khalil.
Okay, now without taking more time, over to Khalilur. Khalilur, kindly cover introduction of Subri in your talk.
Coming to our chief guest, he's a lot more accomplished and he's an achiever. And based on some of the folks I had an input, he was one of the toppers of the 1988 batch, and he went to do his master's in computer science at Clemson University. After that, he worked with lots of big giants. When NCSA Mosaic became Netscape, you must have heard Mark Andreessen and all. He started, that was his second stint at Netscape. He was working for Netscape, and one of the search engine which got totally dismantled by Google, Lycos. He worked for Lycos. That's another big tech company. These are one of the household names in the late 90s and early 2000s, and he also worked for Sun Microsystems and Oracle. He started a couple of startups, and he worked with the big financial transformers, including one which was started by the first trillionaire. He worked for eBay and also Intuit, and he worked for another company which got acquired by Google, which is an integration company, APG. And then after that, he has been working with Visa as VP and then as an SVP for last few years. And he's a very technical author. He has published a book on cloud security and privacy. I hope he's going to write one on AI security and privacy in the future. It's a privilege and an honor for me to introduce Mr. Subri to all of you. How I will do this is probably I'll start with some stats, and then we would have a Q&A, on-set questions. I know there are three generations here. One who are already accomplished and retired and who are keen to give guidance to their kids and grandkids and also keen to learn AI and how can they be productive and become another AI-enabled second career technocrat like our own Mr. Andaman Krishnamurthy, or guide the youngsters. That's the first group. The second group is the technocrats and technologists and engineers, both IT and non-IT, who want to absorb the impact of AI and leverage the benefit AI possesses and leverage it. And the third one is the most young and promising, how you can adapt the changing world when it comes to AI, and how can you shape up your career, and how can you be future ready. So it's a wide and diverse audience we have. So our goal is to address all the three groups, right? So we'll try to do a good job. We do have some question, content to discuss. First, I will probably start off with some data points. There are plenty of data points, but
So Khalil, before you go into the questions, right? Let me take 2 minutes. Yeah. First of all, I'm privileged and honored to be here, especially with multiple generations and super achievers of CIT, right? I'm very inspired to be here, and I'm glad that PSR reached out to me Sunday, and like anything we do, CIT, right? We do it with excellence. Within a week, the vision became execution. right? Yes, sir. Thank you so much. That's how we do in CIT, right? We look at even though it may look like a further dream, right? We make it happen. And that's in our DNA. And I'm so happy that, we're able to get this pull off in a very short notice. And number two, right? Again, I'm privileged and honored to be here because of the fact that at Visa, AI is so key to everything we do. So hopefully we can touch on that. And number three is, PSR, you talked about the reach, right? He was talking about not too happy about getting the right audience here. I would say small is mighty. Okay. High quality is, more critical than, having a large audience. A funny story I want to share. So my daughter got married last Sunday, and my in-laws, my brother-in-law and sister came from Coimbatore. They were going on a train back to Coimbatore, and it happens to be that there were two more Canadians in the same compartment. And then at that time, my brother-in-law was saying, "Look, my brother-in-law is also from CIT," and he said, "Yeah, we know because he said PSR had sent a message on the WhatsApp group, and they already know about me and what I'm going to be speaking about." So I think even though we may not see everybody here, people are connected, right? And they're tuning in. Perhaps at some point this becomes a YouTube video and they can learn from the session. So I'm happy that this is a first step, and I'm sure you're going to do many more of these. That's going to make it much more impactful. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great way to start with a nice story and the impact of technology. So probably I'll read out some numbers. We heard about Sam Altman, and ChatGPT is already reaching 1 billion plus users globally. That's nearly 1/7 of the world. And on a daily basis, there are about 2.5 billion prompts into, and a lot of searches are getting cut. Google is moving away from searches to Gemini and ad. SEO, search engine optimization, has become AEO now, right? So there are a lot of transformation. And when it comes to investment, there's about 242 billion invested in AI-related company, right? And OpenAI alone had 122 billion, and Anthropic another 30 billion, and most of the future trillionaire and top companies are all likely to come from the AI fold. And then when it comes to AI infrastructure and building, there's close to 725 billion invested, right? And Amazon alone is investing 200 billion. Everyone wants to build their own data centers. There's a lot of side effects on it. I will not touch upon it. And no one thought a chip company would become the first $5 trillion company. NVIDIA, whose founder was, he did a lot of jobs, including cleaning the utensils, and he was also a janitor, right? Jensen Huang, right now he's a so that tells how, people can grow from very humble to being the world leaders. And there's also one major challenge with regards to AI data centers, like about 12% of the US power goes to AI data center, and it's expected to go up to 25% in some places like Virginia. And you must have heard about Vizag data center, 1 gigawatt. That's a huge announcement, lot of investment, but there's a lot of side effect. Actually, I published a paper on it yesterday. I don't want, if you're interested, I can share some of the details on it. So there's a lot of cascade effect in terms of AI data center and growth and circular economy. And when it comes to the jobs and economy, some of the publications, it's going to add $15.7 trillion to global economy. AI is going to address, and it's about 14% uplift from an earlier published number by PwC. And year-on-year productivity, another 4.4 trillion. That's more than current Indian GDP on a yearly basis getting added to global economy. And one point which a lot of people were concerned about, job displacement. Yes, 92 million jobs are going to be displaced. And that's not all. It's going to add 170 million jobs. That means technically it's adding 78 million jobs. AI is not a job displacer. It's just going to add more jobs. Only thing is you need to find skills and grow skills to be the ones who are in demand. Right? And there will be skill shift. About 40% needs to move from what they used to do to what they will be doing. That means a skill shift and skill transformation is important. That's what you see in a lot of companies. and many places there's layoff and all those things. Those who can't reskill are let go. Those who are reskilling and showcasing, they are given better and newer opportunities, right? And there's a lot of tool evolution, and lot of transformation happening. And there's also cybersecurity aspect, because that's going to be our core discussion. I will probably start off with that first. We introduced you, Subra, but from we want to hear it from horse's mouth, right? Can you please introduce yourself, your journey in cybersecurity, and also your venture into AI? We'll start with.
Again, I think amazing facts, right? I think we are living, this is for all of us, right, in this room, we're living in a revolution similar to what happened with Industrial Revolution. It's much, much bigger than, think about what happened when the horse-driven buggies became cars, right? That's that same, we are the exact same phase. Even though we are hearing a lot about ChatGPT, we haven't even reached that first. If you look at the 5-day cricket match, we are probably in the first day, right, of AI. And my boss used to tell me that we are like the iPhone 1 version, right? Think about that is where, even with all the innovation that happened over the last 3 years, we are very early days of AI, but it is going to change every one of us in the room, the way we think about how we do our personal day-to-day work, how you plan for vacation as an example, or how you plan for, working with your, friends and family. Every one of this is going to have impact with AI. And we have to now figure, like I said, how do you really get adapted? So, it's really about survival of the fittest, how fast we can adapt. People who are not able to adapt will be left behind, right? That's the key message. You have to know where the, in US we have a term called where the puck is going. Puck means like a hockey puck, right? You have to go in that direction. The same idea here. So we are at the very early days of the AI revolution, so to speak. And I would say in my, I'm part of Visa, and Visa was ranked as number 2 by Fortune magazine for adopting AI. Google was number 1, Visa was number 2 in adopting, right? And part of the reason was we saw the writing on the wall, right? If you don't move now, Visa will not exist. It's a threat for not just technology, it's a threat for the business model, right? Every business model is going to be challenged. So we said, okay, we have to go all in and figure out how we use AI. It could be for improving user experience. It could be for creating new products that we never imagined before. It could be for defending and protecting our customers. Visa, we have 4.5 billion users in this world, right? And thank you for all of you who are using Visa, not MasterCard. Right? So because, we are here to, enable financial inclusion, ensure that currency, remove the currency from people and use digital movement. So from a cyber standpoint is also very, very critical, because AI is going to make it so easy for anybody, like in the bad actors, the threat actors, the fraudsters. If I don't move now, some guy sitting in Russia, North Korea, Iran, they can use AI and easily attack and be able to penetrate Visa. So my job as a Visa is to ensure every citizen data that we have, we have 4.5 billion users, they are protected. You can have the trust that if you pay with Visa card, we will ensure that we'll cover you even with a fraud, right? So cybersecurity is what we're calling as essential cornerstone to protect every consumer. And AI, if I don't leverage AI to defend myself, within the company is 60-year-old. It's not like Google came in 2000 time frame, right? Visa was founded 60 years back, and within a second things can change. If there is an incident and say, hey, Visa is not secure, right? People immediately will go to MasterCard or Amex. So my CEO understands that and says, cybersecurity is job number 1. It doesn't matter I can innovate on AI, but if you don't do your job, I can't, make money, right? So it's such a critical, and given the fact that AI can be used or abused, it's called dual use, right? It can be weaponized. It can be used for good use, also can be used for bad use, right? And that's why every government is scared. So I go to White House every 6 months. I work with the Treasury. So when this new model called Mythos, I'm not sure how many of you heard about Mythos, came out, immediately White House called a meeting and called my CEO and said, hey, the 30 different CEO from the US, we want to ensure that you guys get access first before Anthropic releases the model to anybody. Because they realize that this model called Mythos is so powerful, within seconds, it can discover all the weakness in your ecosystem. It'll understand exactly what vulnerability you have in your network, in your infrastructure, in your product. And this type of things, right, to discover, it would take years sometimes, months. You have to have really, think like a hacker and be able to understand what is the weakness in your ecosystem. But AI can do it in seconds. So now suddenly, like, hey, how do I make sure this model is only used by, good guys, right? So this Mythos has happened on April 8th. In the last 2 months, every day, I get news about new model coming up. So OpenAI released another model called GPT 5.5 Cyber, and they're saying it's better than Mythos. So we're going to see, like if you think about last 10 years, we will get new innovation every other week. Every iPhone will come every year. Samsung will innovate something different. But AI, the innovation is happening so fast. If you're not keeping up to date, you're left behind, right? So my job is to ensure, as a defender of Visa, to use the best technology and be able to say that I can stay 1 or 2 steps ahead of the bad guys. So now, a little bit of how I got to be where I am today. As I said, my first job was in a university, and then I joined a company called Netscape. This was 1995. That was the very first browser. If you think about, how to access internet. Before that, there was America Online. It was much more old technology. So when Netscape, I had an opportunity to go work for Netscape, they told me, hey, we have all of this firewall. These are network technologies that will protect Netscape. Can you help manage it? So that was my first foray into cybersecurity. At the time, cybersecurity as a word did not exist. It was called information security. And I immediately jumped in, and I became an expert in firewall. And then I realized that you need a certain mindset to run security. It's like being a cop, right? You have to always think negative, right? So it's like being pessimistic versus optimistic. And so I started developing that personality, right? Hey, if I don't do this, somebody will hack me. So from that point, I expanded my expertise into other technologies, including cloud. So when cloud computing came up, it was in 2005, was when Amazon initially started this business called Amazon Web Services. And at that time, I was at Sun Microsystems. So I realized cloud is going to change everything. Until then, there was no cloud, right? You have to buy all this expensive machines from IBM, Dell, and you have to create a data center, and it takes millions of dollars. With cloud, you can immediately get started, right? But what I realized was they did not pay attention to security. I spoke to Amazon, I spoke to Microsoft, I spoke to Salesforce. They said, no, we'll talk about security, but now it's very important for everybody to use the product. So, and then I said, I need to educate the masses, and I wrote the book called Cloud Security and Privacy to say, by the way, it's great that you can go to cloud, but it's secure. Somebody can get you access to your data if you're leaving the front door open, side door open, back door open, right? So from that point, I moved on to other companies like Intuit, and every one of them, it was about my focus on cyber, and so cybersecurity is like going to a university. You cannot learn this as in 1 year or 2 years, right? There are so many domains. Compared to a developer who's writing code in Java or Python, cybersecurity, you have to know many things. So I enjoyed that, the multi-domain learning, and then I was able to connect the dots, right? So it's really about, every time I think about is, what am I not doing well in cybersecurity? Because if I leave that one crack open, the bad guys are going to come in. So in Visa, we call it that phrase as a chief paranoid officer. So the two traits we tell them, when I hire people in cybersecurity, I tell them, are you pessimistic and paranoid? And that's what I'm going to test you, right? Because, you can be a great coder, but if you don't have that thinking of how things can be hacked in, everything else doesn't matter.
That's a great. We always thought chief product officer and procurement officer. Now we have another term, chief paranoid officer. You touched upon mythos, and I wanted to ask. Now mythos found a lot of bugs, like 25-year-old bugs and all those things. That's very dangerous, and all the countries are also starting to prepare whenever they are going to launch. And like you mentioned, OpenAI released 5.6 Altera Luna just recently also. So the question is now the evolution is so fast, and all the frontier models and the players are launching something new, and also there's also evaporation of the white labeled wrapper companies going out of play, like Chegg and all those companies. So in terms of the disruption, it's going to cause a lot of disruption to those small companies and small players who thrive on adding value-added services. So that's one sector that's getting impacted. My question, coming back to Visa and the type of services Visa does, and obviously along with pharma and other companies, Visa risk management was very important. So machine learning, all those things were leveraged for ages in fintech companies. So my question is, with the evolving technology and models, how are you keeping up? It's always, riding, what, for lack of better term, there's a concept in Alice in Wonderland where someone is keeping on running, right? I forgot the term, but when asked, the person replies, in order to be at the same place, we need to run twice as fast. It's like running in a treadmill. So when it comes to technology companies, that's what it's. You keep on running, in a treadmill to stay where you are. And so the question is twofold. One, how companies like Visa are keeping up and addressing these threat actors and challenges. And two, how things are evolving and what would be a good advice, especially for the younger audience here, when it comes to preparing themselves for the future. You mentioned one excellent point about being paranoid, curious, being vigilant. That's important. In addition to those, what would be additional advices you would give to them?
So the first question is, how do we keep up, right? And this is where innovation, the focus on how fast you can release a new feature or try out something new. So we have events like Hackathon, right? Hackathon is an event where, we open it up for the entire company to come up with ideas, right? Because we always say that innovation happens because it's coming up from a grassroots, not because we are going and telling them to do something different. So having a culture of innovation and encouraging them to come up with ideas. So each of these hackathon runs for 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, what can you do, right? Because a lot of times if you tell them, if you go ask somebody, hey, I'll give you 3 months, can you come up with idea? Yeah, they'll say 3 months. If you say 6 months, they'll say 6 months. But if you say 2 weeks, they will do in 2 weeks, right? So this is the mindset. So we said in 2 weeks, how fast can you come up with an idea? And can you experiment with actual product? something that can be demoable, not PowerPoint, right? Just something useful. So we do things of that nature to encourage to come up with new ideas. And we have done, we have taken some of these products that was designed in 2 weeks to all the way to production to show that this can be a real product, right? And I have in my own area, I issue something called CSO challenge. So this quarter, I'll say this quarter, the CSO challenge is to solve how fast I can discover vulnerabilities or how fast I can actually create intelligence and be able to share it with everybody in the company, right? So we will throw new certain concepts and what distinguishes, right, in terms of younger generation, and we are seeing that, we are so used to having a experienced thinking, right? Because you grow because you learn, you experiment, and you create skills, and that takes years, right? But now the younger generation coming into the workforce, especially think about in 2027, people who graduate from college, they are the first generation of 100% AI natives. 2023, they got into the university. ChatGPT was announced on November 2022. 23, 24, 27, they will be all AI native. They will think very different than how I would think about creating a project, putting resources around it, forecasting how many days or months it's going to take, or what is the risk of not able to do some things. And so what I'm seeing is that the younger generation is much more hands-on, and they're able to come up with some solution much faster. Now, what differentiates people like us is the wisdom, right? The experience that we have. I know cybersecurity is something you cannot learn overnight. But what I'm doing is I'm taking one person out of college, coming out of college, and we hire everybody here, right? Including CIT. In fact, I met an intern in Bangalore from CIT. This year I hired 50 interns. No, overall. And only one came from CIT. But there were other colleges, we did across India. And so they're so energetic, right? Now, the guys are like who've been in a role for 15 years, 20 years, right? They don't have that, sometimes they do, but most of the times they don't have the mindset, hey, let's try something new, right? So my idea is to take one college grad and one person who's 15 years experience, put them together in one team. So the guy who has the most experience will say, hey, I have this idea, but I don't know how to execute. The college grad say, hey, look, I'm going to show you how to. I'll install a Claude or OpenAI Codex or Gemini anti-gravity, and I can quickly do a prototype. So this is how it's going to happen, right? Because the experience still matters, but you have to adapt to the new technology much faster. My son graduated from UCLA in US, and within 2 years, or less than 2 years, he quit. He had 2 jobs. He quit both, and he has a new startup. And he says, and he and his friend, both of them came together, and they're doing a startup in AI. He says, I don't need more than 5 people in my company. Because of the fact I can do a lot more than what previously you had to get funding, $10 million funding, you're going to hire people, in US, India. But now what they're imagining is there could be a corporation with 2 people with $1 billion valuation. Okay, so now that's the mindset, hey, I can actually go create value. And I think back to your point on creating new jobs, we need more of that of 2 people companies. Okay, now we cannot wait for Narayana Murthy to start Infosys and grow to 100,000 employees or 500,000 employees. We're going to see a lot of micro corporations. And micro corporations who can actually move very fast, who can learn from customer feedback quickly, iterate quickly with AI, and deliver value at much higher scale, right? So we're going to see a shift. It's like, think of cottage industry, right? Where there are people doing, if you go to Coimbatore, there are people with lathe in the house. Same concept with AI. So that, but how do you do that for the younger generation? Is really be able to use AI and differentiate themselves. So there was a saying that AI will not take your jobs, but if you don't know how to use AI, you lose jobs to somebody who knows how to use AI, right? So, and again, I do the, I was when I joined Netscape back in '94, I was a developer. But over the last 30 years, I stopped writing code. I don't write code. I'm not a developer, right? Because there are a lot of complexity in writing software. But now, I'm back to where I am in 88, in 90s. I can use AI to write code. So every one of the, in this room can now become a software engineer, because you just tell AI in English what you want, and it will write the application. So that's where, again, we are in the first day of the 5-day test match. But we're going to see this significant evolution happening. But the key point I want to emphasize is be able to keep up with the technology like ChatGPT and keep experimenting, and that will pay dividends for you in the longer term.
That's thanks. Probably my view on what you said. Probably we are before lunch of the first day of the test match, but we are playing 2020 when it comes to technology. The way game is played is 2020 for 5 days. So thanks, and you touched a point about the AI native. My daughter is in her final year also, but she didn't buy a single book. Basically, everything is all digital and like you mentioned, ChatGPT and whatnot. When it comes to what you would look for in the profile or the talent that you would like to hire, what are the actual skills that you would look for in college graduates? And more than the skills, are there any soft skills and leadership qualities that you look for, in the new hires as well as the people who want to transition? Now, earlier, even if you take oil and gas or any particular domain, if you want to develop technology, you went for technologies. Now you don't. It's an AI has kind of level played. Anyone can do anything, right? And domain knowledge is absolutely key to succeed in the business. That means people with the domain knowledge can probably build better systems than a technology. So how do you see that? I asked 3 questions. One from what you look for in the new, when it comes to new joiners, and second is technologies, and the third one is domain-aligned knowledge. How critical it is, and whether it's opening up doors for those who are in core engineering to move into a hybrid role as well.
Yeah, excellent. So I think we always look for, if you think about how you would gauge somebody's expertise, the 3 things we look for, right? One is IQ, how smart the person is, right? And IQ, you're not going to test it directly, but you may give aptitude test. There could be some coding test. That is one part. And I think that is where AI is going to come and dominate, right? IQ, right now, the frontier models is as good as a PhD. So, see, when we grew up, right, we had to choose. You had to go to engineering, you had to go to medicine, a lawyer, right? Imagine you can be an engineer, doctor, lawyer, imagine any other, like a farmer, right? All in one person. That's what AI does, because it has learned from the knowledge, from the world knowledge, and I can ask, go solve a problem in chemistry or physics, and it'll do it, right? And this is where in the next by 2030 or 2035, what they're forecasting is artificial general intelligence, AGI, will be achieved. What AGI means is that AI can do the job of anybody who are very experienced, highly skilled, doing complex work. So that is, Sam Altman or Dario from Anthropic, they're all forecasting different, but 2030, 35, in that range, you can think, right? So what that means, for us, right? Obviously, second point is EQ. IQ is gone, okay? Because, AI will do you don't have to learn physics, chemistry the way we did, right? But it's still important to have fundamentals. So you cannot take shortcuts on this. You still have to learn Newton's third law or, whatever. The fundamental is fundamentals, right? So when we hire, we want to make sure that they have the high GPA, have a very, very good IQ. But we know that AI will help in that area. The second is EQ, emotional quotient, right? This is where, how do you do sales? How do you do marketing, right? How do you talk in a human level? Because most of the time business gets done because who we know and how we connect with them. There's emotional connection, right? That AI will not tell you. If you're a salesperson, you still have to know how to close a deal. How do you play golf and make whatever? How are you going to close the deal? That is art. It is not science, right? The third is CQ, curiosity quotient. Are you curious enough? It's like we might end up we are getting into retirement age, but are you still thinking like a kid and asking the right questions, right? So the CQ factor is what I look for. Is that person who I'm hiring today constantly asking, why am I doing this? Can I do this differently? It's like a kid is saying, why is the sky blue, right? We lose that over time. And the CQ is a very big aspect of how I can take a person and shape the person. Because I cannot teach them how to ask questions, right? We tell them, when they come to school and thing, they learn, but because the professor told what that particular domain is. But are you curious? And CQ is something we don't do much. We need to do more of that, right? And again, AI will not be, you can, if you're curious, then you use AI to your advantage and be able to augment AI in how you do things every day and do more automation. So I look for more of that, from anybody who's coming into my team. From an experienced leader standpoint, like, if I had to look at my next level below, a vice president, senior director, directors, it is really, are they following they can simply manage people, right? That is okay. But are they introducing new ways of doing things? Are they challenging the status quo to change the process? Because sometimes they say, hey, this is how it works. I had to file a ticket, do this, but that doesn't go a long way with AI, right? So I look for leaders who can change the game and work with other people in a very collaborative way, because everybody has to come together to solve problem, right? That's where the EQ comes along. Because we will see that as you go experience, your EQ should be going up, where you are able to connect the problem very quickly. So in India, we say jugaad, right? Can you quickly come up with a way to think about? So I look for that EQ and CQ, and who are also much more self-aware that they can now, hey, I'm not going to be the expert coming out of college, but I can use those folks effectively. So that's the name of the game now, how fast you can think about changing a problem and be able to use technology to help solve it.
So if I just switch the terms a little bit, you look for ICE, IQ, CQ, and EQ. So. Okay, since you mentioned about CQ, I just want to quickly share one experience of one of the interns. In my previous company, nowadays I was running a large, large internship program. We had about 50 odd doing internship at one batch. I was the coordinator managing that. They came from different campuses, but there was one young chap within third week of the internship. He found a problem which no one else thought. When it comes to clinical trials, you need to keep the medicines at different places at a particular temperature. And if there is a temperature mismatch, then it goes waste. And you are talking about millions of dollars going waste, right? And a person who is running the clinical trial needs to. This guy came up with an idea. Why are you having a backlog? implement an IoT device-based monitoring and alert immediately. And he did a POC for one clinical trial site. It became a huge success. And they rolled it out globally across all the manufacturing plants and clinic. And he had an opportunity to meet the CEO in person. And then obviously that guy had excellent CQ and did his masters in the US, and now he's earning 450K or 500K in one of the leading tech company. So that's that point is, this curiosity quotient is very important, and it can come up from very young age. So coming to our next set of questions, when it comes to the common people, maybe if you take our participants here, when it comes to common people, what is that you feel, how AI can be leveraged, be it for day-to-day use or productive, how it can help them shape up in various aspects, and your advice, and given we have three probably segments and maybe 6 generations seated here, right? So what would be your advice?
Yeah, I use 3 different AI tools every day. I use ChatGPT, I use Claude, I use Gemini. Right, so 3 different, because every one of them have pros and cons. The way I use it is, right, even like if I have to come, say, to this session today, I can say, look, here is the audience. How do I engage with them? Right? How do I get prepared? And same thing goes for if you're in sales. Because if you're going to compete with your, with the other companies, then you should know how do you compete on that particular client. Right? So even every function, sales, marketing, every aspect of that is getting transformed, because now I immediately will get a set of questions to ask, or set of things to think about. Think about interviews. Interviews, as soon as you know that person is going to, who you're going to engage, you can put that in ChatGPT or Claude. You tell me, okay, for this personality and profile, how do I engage? What kind of question I should ask, right? And they're doing the same, because I'm seeing that, they're also listing the, hey, for this, upload the resume into ChatGPT. Now tell me what questions I should ask this person. So so think about planning for a vacation. So I was going to Africa last year, and I just told what my goal is. I need to be here in these days. Optimize it and tell me where I should go first, which hotel I should take based on this budget, and it gives the entire itinerary for you, right? And so this is where we can benefit personally by, before we have to go to search engine, do a lot of search, connect all the searches. It takes a lot of time. Ultimately, AI should help save you time, so you don't have to do all the mundane, boring stuff, right? It gives you all this information on your fingertips. The third thing I use very heavily AI every day is health. I'm a runner. I run marathons. So every time I do a training, I say, I give, of course, you have to trust AI in some places. So I will give my data. Here is my, goal for this next 6 months. Tell me what I should eat, what supplements I should take, when I should take. Like morning, I will say, first thing I do is I make a ginger tea at home, and then I eat some nuts, and then I go for a run. So it'll tell you what sequence you should do, right? Again, AI is not perfect. AI will hallucinate. AI will give you wrong information, right? So you have to sometimes you have to verify that. So that's going to be, a little bit of continuous learning. And then same thing with financial planning, right? If you want to think about retirement, or, if you give your profile and you tell what are the options to get certain percentage return, I don't think there is any single area where you cannot use AI. When I go to shop, I take pictures of like if I go and say I want to buy these 3 chips, take 3 pictures, tell me which is the most healthy one. It'll give you the, immediately it compares and gives you the. Now, these are all, we are interacting with AI, right? this is chat model. What is changing is agents. Now you will have agents that will do things on your behalf. So the thinking is every one of us in the room will have hundreds of agents in the next 12 to 24 months. You'll have an agent that is advising you on your health. What I should, when I wake up, what should be my yoga thing? How do I plan my day for fitness? It knows your sleeping pattern. It'll advise you, what to eat for lunch, for dinner, right? So that's the agents are telling you what to do, and you're going to see a lot of that come in. And then think about diagnosis. I've seen many people who actually went to doctors many times. They couldn't find the issue, but they uploaded the X-ray, the MRI scan. Immediately, they're able to get insight. So the healthcare is going to change significantly in the next 2 years. I think, we all don't want to go to doctor, right? Because, once you go there, they'll start writing every scans and every test to do. So you're going to see that, the healthcare getting transformed, including cancer, how you think about managing cancer. And of course, now you have DNA analysis. The only concern is, can you trust the company? If I give my data to Google or OpenAI or Anthropic, will they treat it like a personal data? And that will differentiate who you would trust, right? Because, if you think about two big companies, Google and Apple, who do you trust most? Apple. Because Apple said very clearly they're not going to monetize your private data. Google said, okay, I'm going to put ads based on what immediately you go to Google, it knows exactly what you're shopping because it knows your email, it knows your your habits, right? That's how they make money, right? Google's business model is based on the ad revenue. So you will see the next year or so who will take that position to give you the private interaction. So I can freely upload my healthcare data, my diet, my diagnosis, all of that, and be able to get advice. I think, and especially think about in a country like India, 1.4 billion, not everybody has access to healthcare. So there is a lot of opportunity for companies to come and say, how do I, without going to doctor, can I provide you the first advice, the diagnosis? Then, once you get to a certain point, of course, you have to go to the doctor and, right? So we're going to see that type of transformation happening in healthcare. There's going to be huge changes happening in the travel industry, right? So every sector is going to get impacted. The sector that may be minimally impacted is things like service sectors, right? Like where you are, if you go to the hotel, if I go to Sarana Bhavan, I still need somebody to serve me. The AI is not going to help me. AI will tell me what I do nowadays. I go to a restaurant, I take a picture of the menu, and say, tell me which I should order based on my diet. It'll recommend 1, 2, 3, right? But I still have to order it. So the guys who are serving they'll have a job, unless robotics come in and become robots to take the order, right? So the certain industry like physical security cannot change. Construction workers cannot change because you still have to go do the work. But anything that is digital oriented will be transformed in a very big way.
Thanks for that. Actually, that brought a couple of points. Actually, I was talking to one of our batchmates, and his son was doing a project, right? It's interesting you brought the hotel menu order. He built a system with his friend wherein you can order items on voice and get generation order, and it's very good for student population in hostels and all. Or if he's successful, he can take it to the next level and sell it to all these small scale players wherein any language, you can order in any language. If the menu's data is there, it can be brought in. It's probably a competition for Zomato, right? It's coming from a very young mind. And obviously, if you have robots which are interesting, you don't need physical labor in a hotel. everything can be digital, payment, ordering, delivery of the order, all those things, I'm just a thought, but it's not a scalable approach. Maybe I'll ask one question and then we'll open up the question for the floor, right? They can ask question. There is also a big messaging going around about AI is probably a bubble like a .com. There's a lot of investment happening when it comes to AI infrastructure, and a lot of layoffs are happening, maybe due to the fact, the first area they can focus is the personal cost, because the infrastructure, in order to put in OpEx, CapEx, you need OpEx, and personal cost is one area, the publicly listed companies can target. So that maybe there's a theory going on that's why a lot of layoffs is happening, because whatever is freed up is getting invested into your AI infrastructure. But at the same time, this week alone, Oracle lost 30% in spite of all the other things, because Oracle is investing heavily in AI infrastructure and a lot of new investment plans. So how sustainable is it? First question is AI a bubble, or is it going to be sustained, because it may reach a cliff and then the real transformation may happen? Or, do you think we should be investing in Micron and NVIDIA to make a good returns, right? Or should we advise, or is it probably a bubble? That's a general
You should
question.
ask ChatGPT that question. Where should I invest my money, right? But I think so. Okay, so like any other, revolution that happened in the last 30 years, you think about internet revolution. We came from modem to, fiber optics, right? So, and then we went to mobile. Then we had cloud computing, right? Every one of them, there's always a hype, right? The hype leads the way. And similarly, AI, right now there's a lot of bubble being built because nobody wants to miss out. It's like FOMO, fear of missing out, right? And right now the investors are pouring a lot of money because they don't know which company will survive. And so that's why, think about Anthropic. Anthropic, within 3 years, their annual revenue is $30 billion. Visa, we took 60 years to get to 30 or 40 billion. I mean, just compare how fast they're growing. So what is happening is, because of the fact that consumers and business is willing to spend money, so I spend $20 a month on ChatGPT and Gemini, because I want to know which one is good. Most people will not use $20 a month. They will go to a free version. But the fact is, there are billion users using it in OpenAI, and business also wants to invest in AI because they don't want to be left behind. So the last 2 years, it was all about let's go figure out how to use AI. But now, CFOs are waking up. The chief financial officer is asking, what is the ROI? Right? Like, our spend, including in Visa, our spend grew literally 600-700% in the last 6 months because of everybody wants to use, tools like Claude. So suddenly now people are wondering, hey, how do I justify my investments in OpenAI? You know how OpenAI makes money? It's a concept called tokens. So every time I use ChatGPT or Claude, they charge me on the number of tokens I used. It's like cell phone, right? You have minutes. Here they use tokens. Our token usage is multi-trillion per month. And we were like in billions 6 months back. So we are seeing a very big exponential growth. So the token now going forward, it's about tokenomics. The economics is the tokenomics. You have to understand, for the tokens you're investing, are you getting the productivity? The reason why we are seeing layoff is because CFO said, look, if productivity is going up, why do we need the same number of people, right? There are 20%, 30% improvement in productivity. Do I need the same? So the two things, either I redeploy them in a different business and make more money, or they're not redeployable because they're not adapted AI, right? That's where you are going to see a difference. If whether it is a technology person or business person, when they use AI and they can show that they can do more with AI, then they are adapting and they are able to keep up. For those folks who don't believe in AI, they say, okay, layoff comes up, they're in the list, right? So I think going back to the job numbers of, you said 178 million new jobs, right? So this is what is going to happen is you're going to see some jobs will disappear, like similar to what happened with when cars were invented. The people who were driving the horse-based buggies, and they disappeared, right? But if they became a car driver, then they have a new job. So we're going to see that same thing happen here. But now the question really comes to financially, if I'm spending X amount of dollars giving money to OpenAI, am I getting the return? And this is where CFOs haven't fully figured out. They're given a lot more leeway to the business to understand how to use this AI technology. So the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to see, is the spend going to keep going up? The 30 billion revenue for Anthropic, is it going to be 60 billion or is it going to start tapering down? The other part is if there are newcomers, I know there's like new models like Sarvam. Sarvam is India-based model, right? If those come, then the money will shift to them. China, we haven't spoken about China. So China is investing heavily in AI. In fact, the number one threat to US is China because of AI. So, and China is going open source. They are actually giving for free. Take the DeepSeek model is what they have. They're saying take it and run with it. You can use it for no cost. So that is being watched. If China starts putting in new models with no cost, imagine Anthropic and those guys charging $20 a month. They had to bring the price down to $5 or whatever, right? But today there is a gap between how intelligent Anthropic or ChatGPT model is compared to China model. But if the gap starts reducing to 10%, I would say, okay, fine, 15%, I don't care about that because I don't need to be perfect. I'll go use something like a DeepSeek. So that is a dark horse we are watching, and this is why US is also worried from a national security standpoint. If DeepSeek is getting into US, will they start learning about US behavior, the privacy aspect? All of that is also being watched. So that's going back to what is it a bubble? Certainly a bubble for now, but not as bad as what happened in .com. .com, people were getting investments without a product. They will show a PowerPoint and the venture capitalists are putting money. But now these are real money being generated, but they're giving higher multiples. For $30 billion company revenue, you're valuing at $1 trillion, right? You're looking at 30x or more. Typically, you give a 10x valuation. So that valuation will play out in the next 12 to 24 months. What is the other question you had?
What's your advice actually?
Oh, where to invest? Yeah. So if only we all knew, right? We have a crystal ball. I think there is still a very big demand on energy. We haven't, for all the things we want to do with AI, energy is a very key ingredient. So if you look at US total number of kilowatts of power, I think there are 2 trillion kilowatts. And they need like 4 to 5 trillion. If this rate of growth for data center, they need like double the energy usage. Same thing with, you mentioned investments here in Vizag. So if energy can be used as a differentiator, then you can attract investment. Because people want to, like Google or OpenAI, they want to put data centers where there's energy. So maybe, I know in India there's always energy shortage, right? But if you can change the policy with nuclear and other things, that can attract a lot of new investments. All of these NVIDIA GPUs are very power hungry. And number one, there's not enough chips to go around. So, even the inventory from NVIDIA is not, they're not able to maintain because every time they issue chips, it's sold, right? Hardware companies still a good place to invest. The software companies are going for a toss, right? Because software, the idea of software no longer, I need to go to Microsoft or Salesforce or all the big, Adobe. They built it over the last 30, 40, 50 years. Suddenly they're looking at, hey, if I can create software so fast, why do I have to go to Microsoft? But if you have a hardware, like Cisco has network switch, so you're going to see a barrier to enter being higher for them. We call the moat, right? The moat, the differentiator. So that's why a lot of the software companies are getting impacted on the stock price. Because it's easy to replicate software, but AI cannot replicate hardware. Right? So I think most of the investments are going into companies which have a combination of software, hardware, and then chip companies like AMD, NVIDIA, and the energy, which is another area. If there are energy companies, they're also doing, they're doing well because there's a demand for energy and that will be there for the next 2 to 3 years.
ASML, TSMC, Vertiv, GE, Vernova, and in our own India, Adani, and quite a few. So renewable energy things. So that's what you're saying. So thank you for all that nice discussion. Maybe open for question. Anyone, if you want to ask any question, yes.